Hey fam, Jesse still here. We've been talking the last couple weeks about spiritual warfare and taking our stand and how God gives us his very strength. We're being strengthened by God. It's amazing that we win the battle that we are in. And that's strange to think of, but the real actual truth is that Jesus has already won. But that does not mean that you and I do nothing. Us accessing and apprehending his victory in the middle of the battle is actually our act of faith. This is our posture of faith. I may be in the midst of the battle, you may be in the midst of a struggle, but we know who's already won. And so we will take up our armor and we will take up our weapons, because if we simply do our part and walk as he's called us to walk, we will win. The victory is assured. The only way to fail is to give up. And I'm so passionate to see that you and I would not be a people who give up. As I said Sunday morning, it's not a question of, will we win or will we lose? It's really, will we stand and fight? If we'll simply do our part for the believer in this age to stand and fight, and not just for yourself, because the battle for you is assured in Jesus, but to take our stand and fight on behalf of those that don't yet know Christ, to win the victory over the enemy for those who have not yet experienced the finished work of the cross, so that they can come into the place of victory that you and I get to stand. It's a powerful reality. I hope you feel motivated today to extinguish the works of the enemy, because you can, and especially on the behalf of those who cannot. You have faith given to you by God. Use it. Extinguish those fire darts. Nullify the work of the enemy today. Anyways, I was reading in Psalm 44 of this amazing recounting of the psalmist of the story of deliverance of the exodus of God's people and the planting of God's people in his promises, in the promised land, how they went from oppression. God answered, God delivered them, and he planted them in their promised land, the land of fulfilled promises. That's for us too. Fulfilling the promises he's made over generations. But it's so interesting how God writes the story here and how the psalmist recounts it generations later, what the Lord did. Let me just read this to you, because it's so powerful. What the true nature of the story is. It says, "We've heard it with our ears, O God." Psalm 44, "Our ancestors told us what you did in their days, in days long ago. With your hand," it's talking about God, with your hand you drove out the nations and planted our ancestors. You crushed the peoples and made our ancestors flourish. Check this verse. Verse 3. "It was not by their sword that they won the land, nor did their arm bring them victory. It was your right hand and your arm, and the light of your face." Why? "For you loved them." Isn't that amazing? The declaration, the testimony here is it wasn't their sword, but guess what? Their sword was in it. They put their sword in, and God's sword came with it. It wasn't their arm that brought the victory, but they put their arm in it, and the arm of God came with it. What is your step today in faith? To put forth your sword and believe that the sword of the Lord will go with you. What is your arm today to put forth in faith, to believe God, so that the arm of the Lord can come through and give them victory? Because the promise is that the light of his face is shining on you today because he loves you. This is your victory. I love this testimony because we clearly see in Scripture they went in, they had to fight the battles, but they were not alone. And you are not alone. You and I are not alone in this battle. We have nothing to fear. We have everything to believe. We have everything to hope. We have everything to expect victory if we will put forward the sword of the Lord, the word of the Lord in faith for your situation, for your friend's situation, for the people around you. Put forth your arm in faith and see the hand of God come with you. Let the light of his face and the love of God today lead you into victory. The only thing that will keep you from it is you give up, you sit down, or you don't press forward in faith. If you want to see God today, put forth your sword. stretch out your arm. Let God meet you there. In the end, we will all acknowledge that it was God who met us. It was God who delivered us. It's God who conquers our enemies, but he lets us come with him. He uses us so that our faith matters, that our part matters, that we get to be active participants in his victory, active participants in his glory. We get to come with him and that we get to invest our peace so we own it too, so that we value it, and so that we will steward his victories in our lives well. Why? Because the light of his face is shining on us, and because he loves us. That's why we have victory. That's why he comes with us. That's why he extends his sword and moves his arm on our behalf. Be encouraged today. You're in a fight that you're gonna win. Just don't give up. And if you need help, grab your neighbor and fight together. Raise up your shield for someone who can't today. The Lord is going to be the one. At the end of the day, we're going to write the song saying, Lord, it wasn't us, it was you. But it isn't great that we get to go with him, that we get to be a part, that we're active participants with our Father in bringing about his kingdom on the earth. Hey, I'm praying for you and I love you. See you soon.